Hi everyone, my name is Victor Ogundele and I welcome you to my channel. I was just having my leisure time and I feel like, you know what, let me just try and know what is happening in the world and get the world population over time. But one thing I also want to achieve is I want to be able to open Excel file and be able to see the updated data. So which means I do not need to be going back to my data source and be copying and be pasting in Excel. So what I'm going to do is this, and I will show us more like a step-by-step guide. I'm going to open my browser, right? And what I'm going to do is I will go to the websites that has the world population data, and I'm going to connect my Excel to that website using Power Query, such that I do not need to come back to this website to get those data. From the website is always updated, and which means I just want to come to my Excel, be able to refresh it, and I can get my data without having to come back to this website. So what do we need? Just come here. I need a world population data by 2023. Enter. You see different sources, but for now, I feel I just need the one from Worldometer, countries in the world by population 2023. So what I'm going to do is I'll just open that in a new tab and wait for that to open up. Okay, yes, so this is what we have. You can see here, updated on July 16, 2023 with the latest 23 to 24 estimates from the 2022 UN revision. And now one thing I want you to also know is this. Whenever you see any data on any website, most times, right, those data are always in a table format and they follow the 7 golden rules at times. Though yeah, there might still be at times where you still need to use Power Query to clean the data, to transform the data. But most times it's always be in a table format. So what I want to achieve is this. I want to bring this data into my Excel, but I don't want to copy or download any file. All I just want to is link my Excel directly to this website. And as they are updating this data from their websites, I will also be able to refresh my Excel and get the updated data. Now, let's see how we can achieve that. I'm going to open a blank Excel and I'll come to my data tab. You can see from here we have text from web, from table, get data, where you can see other sources. But for now, what we need is this from web. So I'll click from web, right? While I click from the web, let me go back to our website where I'm coming from. And I'll come here and I'll copy this link, the worldometer.info world population by country. I'll just copy it and I'll come back to my Excel. And what I want to do is I want to link this to my to the website. So immediately I click from the web, it's going to open up this tab for me and is requesting for the URL. So I'll just copy that, Control V, right? That's the link that I copied from this, right? The link to where we have the data. I'll copy that, I'll paste it here and I'll click on my OK. And what will happen is it's going to load. Times can be slow, depends on your network and also your Excel as well. So it's going to show that it's it's establishing the connection, and it's going to take you straight to a Power Query navigator, right? So you can see that it's still loading. So let's give it like a minute. Okay, yes, so we have it. Now, immediately this open up, you have two views. And secondly, as I said, most data that you see on the website, they are always in table format. So you can see from this my display option, I have a document and I have a table. So if I click on this table, look at what happened. The same way I have the data on my website, right, is the same way it has been extracted here. In fact, if I want to see the web view, so up here, you can see the table view and web view. And on this web view, you can see the same thing I have on that website. I can also see it here. So table view, right? And I can click on my transform to open up Power Query. So That's opening up. You can see this is what we call Power Query. So in case you want to learn more about Power Query, you can always check some few videos online, right? But for now, what I'm going to do is I will just leave it this the way it is for now. For now, we can always come back here. So I'll click on my close and load. So immediately I click on my load. Excel will bring that data to bring it straight into my into my Excel. And now I can go ahead and rename this my worksheet to data, right? Maybe here, and this is another worksheet, right? But this is the data, and we've gotten everything the same way we have it from the website with all the headings. Now, one thing is, because this is Power Query, it is automatically linked. So I can always right click on any part of the model, right, and click refresh anytime I open this document. And which means Excel will go back to that, we open the website, but automatically and do what? Just refresh the data the same way we've copied it and give us the data. So anytime they refresh that. Now, one thing I love doing before I start analyzing any data, I always like to test the credibility of the data. And we have different method, different approach that you can use. So one thing I'm going to do, I'll just copy this country and the population. I'll copy everything from beginning to the end. And I'll come to this, my sheet, and I'll just call it, maybe I'll call this data, data check. So I'll come in here and I'll paste this, I'll paste that as values. So let me expand this. So I'll paste this as value. Let me format it, the comma number, right? And remove the decimal. So just call this country. Now, one thing I love doing this a lot, to test the credibility of the data set that I have. And now we have different method, right? And then we have different school of thought that agree with some of this concept, while some school of thought don't agree. There's something we call Benford rules, right? Benford rule. I think it should be BREND, right? Benford rule. So you can go online and check that. Let me be sure that that is correct. So you can check online to see. I think that should be Benford. Okay, okay, Benford laws. Okay, it's not rule, it is law. Okay. Yes, Benford law, right? So the law of anno minus number, or the first digit law. And so I will leave you to read more about this. But this Benford law, okay, it is Benford. Okay, yes, good. Sorry, I'm not good at cramming. So this so Benford laws. Okay, it's not laws, right? So what is this saying? You can read more about it, but let me just break it down in a simple way. So Benford law is saying if we have from 1, right, to, so let's say we have from 1 to 9, right, which are more like the numbers that can appear in any set of data. So Benford law is saying 1 should appear the most. That the lower the number, the higher its occurrence. So which means I have set of data like this. I'm saying this should appear like 80%, right? Why this is something like 70%, why this is around 60%, right? Why this is 50%. So basically it's saying the higher the data, right, the lower its occurrence. And we even have something that we have a formula that we use in Excel to be able to get that percent of expected occurrence. And the formula is, let me zoom out. So we call it equal to log 10. So log 10, right? 1 divided by this series of number that we have, then plus 1. I'll close the bracket, enter. So this just give us the expected percent And if I decide to put this in a graph chart, right, let me put inserts, then recommended chart. So if I put this in a recommended chart, let's look at how this will look like. Okay, so which one can we use? Okay, so let's use this first one. Let's use this cluster column. So it's basically telling us that this is how the distribution of data should look like. That the lowest number should have the highest occurrence, while the larger number should have a lower occurrence. So which is what we use in testing the credibility of the data. They also use this in forensic fraud data analysis. I even use it for financial figure. Yes, I've tried it before. Yes, most time it's not always correct, but to certain a degree, as I said, some school of thought agree, some school of thought don't not agree. So I'll delete that. Now, from our data that we have here, let's now see how we can apply that rule. So for here, first thing we need is our first. So we need our first digit, right? And I think our left formula, left here. So just select the population, enter. So let me align that to the right. And you can, if I just double click down, so you can see the first number of the set of in the cell, in the value that we have in the cell is what we are going to get here, right? So for me to now check, so this is the serial number. Right, and let me work smartly. I can just copy this one to now that I have here. Then let's check the occurrence. The occurrence. Please forgive my spelling. Let me check. So Excel is, you can also use Excel to check if your spelling is correct or not. Okay, yeah, it's correct. I got it. So with your F7, you can check spelling in Excel. So I want to check the occurrence. Let me centralize this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our count if. So count if, what is our range, which is this set of first data, right? I'll keep that constant. Keep that constant. Comma, what is our criteria? That's the serial number that we've listed here. And I'll drag this down so that we have this. So now looking at this, let's have the percent here. So I'm saying equal to, okay, let's do the summation first. So the summation is 234. And what is the percent? So this occurrence divided by the total number, which I'm going to keep constant, right? Then I'll just drag this down. We'll drag it down. I can make it just two decimal points, right? So now, what about the let's check what Benford law is saying we're supposed to have. Right, let's look at what Benford is saying. Yes, this is how the data is supposed to look like. Let me call this, maybe I should just call this data percent. So for Benford law is saying equal to log 10, right? 1 divided by this our serial number, and I'm going to add plus 1 to it. That's more like the formula. So you can always, if you want to know more about it, you can check online and have better understanding when it comes to Benford law. So I'll just drag this down and we can see. So now for us to be sure, at least to what degree can we trust the data that has been provided. So I'll just highlight this. So let me highlight our serial number first, control, then I will highlight my data percent and also Benford law, and I'll go to my insert, then select recommended charts. So let's select recommended charts, and I guess this will be a good one. The line graph is not giving us a cluster one this time, right? But I think okay, wait, where is the cluster? I'm supposed to, can still get cluster to do that for us. Okay, good. I think I prefer this one. So you can either use this or you prefer the line graph, either of the two. So we can try to use both of them just to understand what the flow is supposed to look like, right? So let me duplicate this. Let me duplicate the charts. And then I'll call this, then let me change this to come to my charts design, then change chart type, then I'll go to my line graph and just use a line graph to view it as well. So this is what we have. Let's place this side by side for us to see. Remember, what we are trying to do is to see, measure the credibility of the data. So Benford is saying one supposed to come first, and it seems they all maintain the same level with that. The second one, even looking at it from the data, right? One kind of maintain the same thing, right? So most times, yes, you might not get the accurate number, but the slope will be almost like the same thing. And I think to certain degree, right, if you check this, our own data, 0.3, 15, right, 15, at times you can see set of data like that, but what Benford is saying that is no, this is supposed to even be lower than the first one, than this, the second number. The occurrence of 4, almost the same thing. Then even if, as I said, if it's not the same thing, it's supposed to be more like a slope, a downward slope. So here where 4 is having 0.10, then 5 is now having 0.11, which is greater than the lower number. And I guess this is the only thing that's kind of distort this, but at least to this certain degree, if you look at the slope, right, this is still fair, this is still fair, this is still fair, right? Because most cases you don't end up getting the same thing as Benford law, but the Benford law is just to at least give us a certain degree how much we can trust the data, right? So even for some that are just kind of shaking, I feel this is still fine. So we can trust this, So in case you have any other method of testing the credibility, you can even there was a time I had to download the company historical financials for every year to be sure that yes, is it following this trend. And I've seen a few companies that their financial figures just kind of follow this. So this is a very good measure for you to check the credibility of the data. So in the next video, we now try and see how we can create our visualization from this data.